Welcome back to podcast. Today we are going to share a story of a job scamming targeting Korean people, young Korean people. That's happening in Cambodia. A lot of young Korean people, they flew over to Cambodia thinking that they were going to get a good job, high paid job for 1 year for a lot of money. Turned out they've been kidnapped, violated, and a lot of them lost their lives. So it's a hot take. A lot of Koreans are paying attention to this. There are a lot of angles to look at the problem, and we're going to discuss it today. The trap of a high-paid job in Cambodia, reconstructing the case of a 26-year-old Korean man, Lee Jae-ik. We're going to call him Jake. Jake, a 26-year-old man, was an ordinary young adult. After graduating from university in the countryside, he moved to Seoul and lived in a tiny room while preparing for a civil service exam. He survived on 2 meals a day and took any part-time work he could find: convenience store clerk, food delivery, even construction labor. Every night, he struggled between hope and anxiety. This month, I'm finally reached a passing score, he told himself. But deep down, he wondered, am I really on the right path? Then one day, an offer that seemed too good to be true appeared. Scrolling through social media job boards, he saw a post that read, free housing, earn 10 million per month, short-term work available. The number made him stop. 10 million won a month, enough to change his life overnight. He felt suspicious for a moment, but curiosity and desperation won. He decided to call. Jay called. Hello, I saw your job posting. How old are you? And where do you live? I'm 26, living in Seoul. The job is quite hard. You would have to live in Cambodia, and most people can last long before coming back. Are you sure you can handle it? The man's calm, almost discouraging tones sounded oddly sincere. It made Jake lower his guard. Jake, if you give me a chance, I will work really hard. Don't rush just because of the high pay. If you're curious, send me your resume and passport number. Passport number. Red flag. That night, Jake organized his documents and sent him by email, convinced the job was legit. A few days later, the man sent several photos. A dormitory in Cambodia, payslips showing large deposits, and smiling young workers at a local restaurant. These people are also from Korea, the man said. It's tough at first, but you will get used to it. Seeing those images, Jake slowly began to relax. He even told his parents, I'm going to work there for 1 year. He said, then I can come back, take classes again, and study properly. Although his parents hesitated at first, the pictures convinced them. Just be careful, okay? They said. When Jake arrived at the airport in Phnom Penh, capital of Cambodia, the hot air and strange smell immediately hit him. A middle-aged man was waiting with a sign. Mr. Jake, welcome. Jake smiled, but soon the man said coldly, give me your phone and your passport. The company will keep them. Huge red flag. The tone felt off, but Jake thought it must be some kind of local regulation. The car left the city and drove for nearly an hour into the dark countryside. The bright lights disappeared, replaced by empty fields and old buildings. Finally, they stopped at a compound surrounded by high fences and CCTV cameras. Inside were metal beds, computers, and security cameras everywhere. More like a prison than a workplace. That's when Jake began to realize he wasn't there to work. He had been trapped. Your job is simple. One man told him, send investment messages to Koreans online. They gave him a computer and called him an investment consultant. But in truth, it was a large-scale online scam center. He was forced to sit for over 16 hours a day, copying and sending fake high-profit investment advertisements to unsuspecting people in Korea. If he failed to meet the quotas, He was cursed at and beaten. One night, the lights went out and a large man entered the room. He tied Jake to a chair and showed him a tablet. On the screen, another young man, about Jake's age, was being electrocuted. If you don't want to end up like him, do your job properly. After that day, Jake typed with trembling fingers, terrified of what might come next. Days later, before dawn, Jake tried to escape. He climbed out of a fourth floor window. Below was a concrete ground. Even if I die, I had to try, he thought, and jumped. He survived the fall, but was soon caught. The man dragged him back, beat him brutally, and then forced a hose into his mouth. White smoke poured out. Inhale it. I'll make you obey. It was a drug. From that moment, Jake's mind grew hazy. He became addicted, losing all sense of control, and was turned into a tool for crime, forced to scam even more people. Meanwhile, several reports of missing Koreans in Cambodia reached Seoul. The Korean government and Cambodian police launched a joint operation. Weeks later, they raided the building and found Jake chained, bruised, and heavily addicted to drugs. He was finally rescued and flown back to Korea. But the moment he landed, handcuffs clicked onto his wrists. Authorities charged him as a member of the fraud organization. In tears, pleaded during questioning, "I'm not a scammer, I'm a victim too. I never wanted any of this, please believe me." He had once a victim, but by the time he returned home, the law saw him as a criminal. So this is the actual building these young Korean men and women got trapped in. Dormitory, but it's a kind of like a prison. The inside, there's a bunk bed, looks pretty messy, dirty. There's nothing there, just the bunk beds and one table hanger, that's it. Looks very tough. The desperation of job searching among a lot of Korean people, young Korean people, especially after graduation. It's heavy. It's heavy on everyone. Not everyone gets a job at corporates like Samsung, SK, and all that. High-paid job, prestigious job. That's what everyone wants, and the spots are limited. A lot of people feel like they're a failure, and they are desperate to get any opportunities around. So, although the article said the job posting seemed too good to be true, the desperation won over their suspicion. So it happens a lot. It could happen to everyone in the world. And also this whole operation of crime reflects how desperate and vulnerable young Korean men are, men and women. Young Korean men and women are desperate and vulnerable to these super dangerous crime. And it's really sad. It's really sad that not everyone can get the good job, the dream job.
되게 안타까운 사건이긴 한데
네.
근데 한 번만 더 조심하고 찾아봤으면 어쩌면 피할 수 있을 법한 사고였는데 그들이 그렇게 당한 게 좀 안타까운 면도 있거든요. 좀 어떻게 생각하세요?
These young Korean victims, to be honest, call me cold if you want, but they seem a bit too naive. They promised $8,000 per month in Cambodia. Come on, it sounds very unlikely. Sounds too good to be true. If something sounds too good to be true, then usually it's not true. You have to look up the country itself as well, how safe it is. Even when I travel overseas, the number one thing that I look at is security, how safe the country is, because I'm the stranger. I'll be an extreme minority. So you should look that up. Second of all, I would have definitely looked at how many Korean companies are there. Because if it was Vietnam, we keep talking about Vietnam these days. In Vietnam, there are many Korean companies / factories. So there are a lot of job openings in Vietnam. And then if I was this young guy, I would have more convinced if the country was Vietnam. I probably wouldn't have a look at the job posting as much as other countries. Cambodia sounds very new to me. I don't recall any Korean companies working there, doing a big business there, having many factories there. Not really. Global corporations usually have factories in Bangladesh or Vietnam. So that sounds more likely. But Cambodia sounds quite new to me. So I would have looked it up for sure. And I would have looked up the company information. You can easily look up on Naver. It's usually open information, especially if you went to university. It's quite easy to access the information. Who owns this company, how much they generate a year, what's their core product. Because it's your job, what kind of role I'm gonna play, blah, blah, blah. There are many red flags there. Okay, so I'm going to step back and try to take their side. But at the airport, somebody taking your passport and your phone, I would have returned to the airport and went home. 100%. My father's brother, he used to be a rich man. When he was around, he used to be a very successful businessman. He was based in Busan. He was in his 50s. He got a cab to go somewhere during the day. The taxi was taking him to somewhere very dark and rural. He jumped out. True story. So it was right before big holiday. Let's say Chuseok or Chinese New Year. It was right before that. So when we visited him, like we used to in Busan, because my father's side, they're from Busan. We saw him, the bruise and the little scratch marks on his face. That was because he jumped out from the taxi. You know that when you jump off the car, it doesn't happen like in the movie. You get hurt a lot. So that's what happened to him. But he asked some questions because I was quite young back then. But he asked him, the taxi driver, a few questions, and he was super shady. So he just jumped out. Thankfully, the guy didn't chase him. He just drove off. Obviously, if he was a normal taxi driver, he would have stopped and called 911. But he just drove off. So it was clearly the case because, as I said, he was very successful in Busan, and a lot of business people used to know him. Anyway, so he was convinced that he was being kidnapped. He jumped off.
So he might be afraid and scared, but he tried to escape the situation. So that's what he needed to do. Yeah.
My father's brother, he's not a tough guy. He was like a very vulnerable looking, like a very pale face and very skinny all the time, not very tall. He looks vulnerable, and he was always sick. Actually, he looks sick. Also, he left us very early because of the health condition. So anyway, so he wasn't a tough guy, but so he knew that he was being kidnapped. He jumped off. This is an extreme example, but what I'm trying to say is, when you see the red flag, don't look back. That's what I say. Especially, it's not in your home country. You cannot be this naive, in my opinion. I feel for Jake, but I think this could have been prevented. I'm carefully saying that there have been many opportunities before he got kidnapped finally. Because like job posting, the phone call, the country itself, a lot of red flags. I mean, sometimes desperate people lose the sense of rationale, but still, if he discussed this with a few friends and family, like really discuss it, because a lot of scamming victims, usually they become the victim because they want to believe. So because they want to believe, they usually force themselves to believe. And then, boom, this happens.
이 스토리에서 보니까 제이크가 졸업을 하고 이제 공무원 시험 준비를 하다가 이런 일을 겪게 된 거잖아요. 그러니까 사회 경험이 있었다면 말씀하신 대로 내가 사회 나가서 한 200만 원 버는 게 그렇게 쉽지 않네? 그러면 1000만 원이라는 돈이 얼마나 허무맹랑한 돈인지를 쉽게 인식할 수 있었을 텐데 가능할 수 있지 않을까라고 혼자 생각을 좀 했던 거예요.
So I read a comment under this news article. Someone said, well, if you are not good enough, I'm sorry to say good enough, but the comment went, look, let's be honest. If you are not good enough to make $1,500 per month in Korea, how can you make $8,000 in Cambodia? It sounds very unlikely. Do the math. That's what I read. I'm not proud of it, but I partially agree to the comments. It's quite cruel, but still, like, how? I mean, Cambodia. I keep saying, You should pay a little bit more attention to the country and do the research. What kind of country it is? If the living cost is high, if the living cost is low, look it up and ask yourself, $8,000 per month makes sense to you. And it's your first time. You don't have a work experience. You just finished the college. Come on. That's too naive. So this is a hot take in Korea right now. A lot of Koreans are angry. At the same time, as I said, there were many red flags. Again, this reflects how difficult it is to get a good job for young people. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll come back with more episode. Thank you for watching. Bye.